I'm beginning to feel like I'm Elon. All my people from the front to the back, nah. Now who invested in the micro cap coins? Are you rich yet, or was that a bad choice? For me, it's like crypto must be in my jeans. No, literally in my back pocket. Got a Litecoin and a hardware wallet. Got a fat lump from that Doge pump. Made a living and a killing off it, even though Joe Biden's still in office with Colin Powell filling on his nutsack. Gen X, but being honest, smart with my money is all hell. Decibels, mathaholic. This flippity dippity hippity Bitcoin, you don't want to invest in a shitcoin, crappity crap, white papers that lack of a team that is bad. Fackity fact, but it hits the price I find worth my time. Still be able to turn a dime, buy low on a coin that we know is just garbage to retail FOMO. Hits on my targets, only realized it's ironic. 6 months ago, I was that bad, thinking how could it not blow with fundamentals and BitBoy cryptos. Hyping every day saying buy the dip, that lie is slick, designed to trick. See the project dip, start feeling sick, so I learned to trade to kind of fight that shit. Beginning to feel like I'm Elon. All my people from the front to the back, nah. Now who invested in the micro cap coins? Are you rich yet, or was that a bad choice? I'm beginning to feel like Michael Saylor. Buy some crypto and turn it into paper. Now you're probably thinking right now you're not. Welcome back to another episode of TAwithMMK. My name is McKay, and we're actually going to discuss that in today's video, what's happened to the Bitcoin price over the last 24 to 48 hours, some key levels that we're watching with both the S&P 500 as well as Bitcoin, a quick update on the two coins that I mentioned in my previous video. If you're liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. Alright, might as well start out with everybody's favorite X, the SPX, although it's not our favorite X right now, because it's largely responsible for what's happening to Bitcoin, right? Like, Bitcoin's so highly correlated with the SPX lately, with institutions and stuff, now being in Bitcoin, that if the SPX decides to have a bad day, well, now we know Bitcoin has to have a bad day, right? So we discussed in our previous video that it was in this potential rising channel or rising wedge, which broke to the downside, and I had said that it was likely just going to form a falling wedge, and that we could look for it to potentially push down to the lower trend line, which it did yesterday. Today's opened up, not yesterday, I apologize. Today it pushed down to the bottom trend line, and now this 4-hour candle that it's working on right now, which is about closed, looks like it wants to push a little bit higher, but this red zone's acting as resistance. It wouldn't surprise me if we can get a little push back up to this potential top trend line, but I would anticipate that we'll just even if we do, we'll just push lower again. I'm looking at this yellow zone as probably being the most likely place that if Bitcoin's going to bounce, it's going to bounce there. If we pull up our fib retracement tool from this last swing low, wrong tool, fib retracement tool, last swing low up to the swing high, that would be the 0.5, which is a very common retrace area. Obviously, the golden pocket is maybe the most common, and that would be more down here kind of towards the top of my green box of better support down here. But it wouldn't surprise me if we can get a bounce around the 0.5, and if we're able to over the coming days, that will definitely help Bitcoin to recover some. So we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, so this is the Bitcoin 1-hour chart. We've been tracking some ideas over the past couple of videos that I've made, and I've kind of updated it to what we're kind of looking at right now. So we had this falling wedge that we had a bear trap. It broke to the downside. It was able to recover. In the previous video, I mentioned that we may have a double top, and what would confirm that would be the breakdown of this box, which it did, bearish retest, so we got some downside. Another thing I've been kind of looking at is that we potentially could also say that this was somewhat of a head and shoulders. So you had a shoulder here, the heads get a little bit taller with that red wick, and then your right shoulder. And if you take the measured move of that, which this isn't a perfect pattern, but not all patterns are, but if you take the measured move of this, right, it's just from the bottom of the neckline down here up to the top of the head, and then you go right here, it kind of looks like, we've basically hit that measured move. So we'll kind of just keep an eye on what Bitcoin does, but what I would expect over the coming, 24 to 48 hours is at least a pushback up to retest this kind of, because if you look at this, you kind of have the top of the range, and you kind of now you have this lower part of the range, and the lower part of the range obviously is not acting as support at all. It just crashes when it gets down here, right? Crashes. Even back here, it would pumped up through it. So this whole area, price doesn't like to interact with for very long, right? Spent a long time interacting up here, very little time down here. But If we do push up and we're not able to get back up over 44,500, which to me is a very key level, then I would expect even another push lower, you know, somewhere back down here to this little bit stronger area of support down around 43,000, which we did already hit 43.4, but you know, we could even go a little bit lower down to 42.8 to 43. What we'd be looking for from the bullish standpoint, and especially if the SPX happens to have a little push to the upside, would be to regain 44,500. That's going to be the first step to progress to the upside. And then I would expect this to at least head back up and test the top of this range, again at around 45,500-ish, somewhere in that range. And then we'll just have to see, can it break above, retest, and then we get another push higher, or does it ultimately, top right there again, and then we just look at it to retrace back down here. So we'll be keeping a close eye on Bitcoin. Okay, and then next I wanted to quickly discuss two charts that I've covered previously on the channel, and I'll also put a link in the description to an entire Bitcoin dominance for beginners, and also a link to my two videos that I made that are, one was 3 charts you should look at every day before purchasing crypto, and the other one was called 3 more charts. Now, one of the charts that I focus on almost every day on my channel, I'll miss a day here or there, is the Bitcoin dominance chart. Now, we're on the 4-hour right now. If you zoom out a little bit, we've discussed previously on other episodes that we were in this rising channel, right? And we had mentioned that if that broke to the downside, which I had a 68% chance of doing, and bearish retest, that we'd get a good little mini altcoin season, which we've had, right? We've had that. And I also mentioned it wouldn't go down all in one push. It would have impulse wave down, then up, then down. But now the measured move that I, have mentioned on previous videos, we hit. And then in my Telegram group that I'm a part of, I had posted this chart last night. Actually, it was a couple nights ago, I believe. No, it would have been last night, mentioning that it looked like we were putting in a double bottom, right? Because price action had come down, bounced, came down, and even put in a slightly higher low, but more or less bounced at the same spot. And I even had this note here that says the break retest here would confirm this small double bottom, and we'd look for a push to either the bearish retest of the white trend line or to the top of the falling wedge. And so basically we broke above the neckline of this double bottom, right? We've retested and now we're pushing higher. Now you do have this previous trend line that was support, support, but it broke lower, it bearish retested. So for the bullish side, we'd hope that this will bearish retest and push back lower. And maybe the support breaks and we get one more little push with the alts. That's the bullish hopium, because obviously we know if Bitcoin dominance is going up, that's bad for altcoins. If it's going down, that's good. The bearish side would be that it hits the top of this bigger falling wedge that I've mapped out here, breaks out, retests, and starts to push higher, right? Anytime this is going up, we just generally know that's bad for altcoins. So this is definitely one you'll want to keep a close eye on. And then that brings me to the USDT dominance chart. This is also the 4-hour chart, and this one tells basically the same story. USDT is the stablecoin that's meant to mirror the US dollar, and it's probably I shouldn't say probably, it is the most used stablecoin at the moment. And so generally, if people are putting their money back into this, it means they don't have confidence holding the crypto, Bitcoin or altcoins. And so kind of the same thing. This was in a large falling wedge for, an extended period of time. And during that time, we got good altcoin trading. It just meant people were taking their money out of USDT and likely putting it into either Bitcoin or altcoins. But then we had this bottom, a push up, another bottom. And this would be the neckline up top, and what would confirm this double bottom breakout would be a break of the neckline and a retest, which it looks to have done. And so now what we're looking for from a measured move is for this to push its way up somewhere, potentially, probably to at least test this 200 simple moving average on the 4-hour. And of course, while this is trending up, that's bad for altcoins. Now, if it does trend up over the next day or two and does hit that measured move, most likely that would act as resistance. You can see with support back here, resistance here. And then hopefully, we can get another trend back down and maybe another test of this neckline at what, so during that period of time would represent some decent altcoin trading. And then we just have to hope at that point that it loses this support, bearishly retests and trends back down here, because as long as this is going up, just like Bitcoin dominance, that spells, short to midterm doom for the altcoins. All right, first coin we'll briefly discuss is XCure or Curate. Now, I mentioned in the previous video they had a big announcement coming out. The announcement ended up being somewhat bearish in the short term. Basically, they added more tokens to their supply. Long term, they're just trying to, attract bigger investors and things, so the project has more, ability to grow or room to grow. But in the short term, I know that it pissed off the members in their Telegram group. And so even without Bitcoin pulling back, this thing kind of saw a little bit of a sell-off, buy the rumor, sell the news. But at any rate, a little bit more of a high risk. In fact, everything's kind of high risk right now as we wait for the dust to settle with Bitcoin. But I went ahead and got in. My entry was $1.33.7. I went ahead and did my 15% there. I wouldn't necessarily copy me. Again, this is just, me kind of showcasing how I trade. And even though the news on it's bearish, I'm kind of a fan of buying fear. So that's kind of the card I'm playing here. But I'm only allocating 15%. And then we'll wait and see if it, loses the support. And if I can get anything down near $1 or especially under $1, then that's where I'll add my 35%. And then we'll finish up with RSR, or Reserve Rights Token. Now this one has mainnet launch at the end of the month. In my previous video, I discussed that my first zone that I was eyeballing for 15% was actually this 17-cent range. And I got a little bit lucky because I was sleeping and I didn't hear my alert go off when Bitcoin was dumping. So I say I got lucky because I planned to enter actually here at 15%, and I'd still be okay with that, but we'll call it a little bit of luck because now I have the option of waiting for an alert down here to trigger at around 15 cents, which was going to be where I would do 35%. But now we'll just call that my 15% area if that alert goes off, or if Bitcoin becomes bullish over the coming hours and this thing's able to break back above and flip 17 cents back as support, that would also be the area I would be targeting for 15% and at least riding it back up to this neckline at around 20 to 21 cents. Now the reason I say that is right now we're kind of in no man's land. We're between what I consider, support and resistance. So this was previously support. This is why I was hoping this would hold up, but Bitcoin had a little bit bigger dump than we expected. And so this support right now has been lost. So to me, it's not smart to enter a trade in the middle of, kind of two zones. You either want to be at support, which I think anything down here between 15 and 15.5 cents would be a great entry. So I'm watching that as we, dip to see if we get that. Otherwise, like I said, the break and the retest of the 17-cent range. And that will about wrap it up for today. Please remember to follow me on TikTok as well as Twitter. If you're from Idaho and you happen to see me, you can also follow me down the street, as long as you're not too creepy. If you're liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. It's TAwithMMK.